Sutra, one of the seminal texts in Mahayana Buddhism, employs vivid parables to communicate complex spiritual truths. Among these parables, the Buddhist version of the story of the prodigal son occupies a prominent place. The narrative begins with the son, the rightful heir to his father's vast wealth, departing from his home and falling into a life of poverty and suffering. Through years of hardship and wandering, he becomes increasingly estranged from his origins, eventually losing all awareness of his true identity and familial connections. One day, however, he unknowingly returns to his father's city, where he encounters his father's newly acquired grand estate without realizing that the wealthy landowner is, in fact, his own father. In a poignant moment, the father immediately recognizes his long-lost son, but understands that given the son's current state of mind, a direct revelation of their relationship might be overwhelming. Observing his son's lowly self-concept, the father refrains from disclosing their connection, opting instead to devise a plan that will gradually lead the son toward full awareness of his identity and heritage. To facilitate this gradual realization, the father hires his son for simple menial tasks, allowing him to develop confidence and dignity through honest labor. As the son's responsibilities increase incrementally, he becomes increasingly self-assured, proving himself capable of greater challenges. Throughout this process, the father observes his son's progress, carefully adjusting the nature of his guidance. Finally, after the son has matured emotionally and mentally, reaching a point where he can fully grasp the reality of his situation, the father reveals the truth of their relationship, affirming the son's rightful place as heir to the estate. There are unmistakable structural parallels between this Buddhist parable and well-known Christian parable of the prodigal son in Luke chapter 15. In both the Buddhist and Christian versions of the prodigal son, we find a central motif, the journey of a lost son returning to a place of belonging. In Luke, the son departs from his father's home, squanders his inheritance, and descends into a state of destitution and despair. At his lowest, he decides to return to his father, not expecting forgiveness, but hoping merely for sustenance as a servant. In an act of unexpected grace, however, the father receives him warmly, restoring his status and embracing him as a beloved son. Here, the emphasis is on the immediate restoration of the relationship, symbolizing themes of forgiveness and unconditional love. Similarly, in the Lotus Sutra, the son, though lost and separated, eventually returns to his father's estate, where he is welcomed back through a compassionate, if less direct, process. Both narratives depict a father's love transcending his son's waywardness, manifesting as a desire for reconciliation and reunion. Yet, whereas the father in the Gospel of Luke swiftly restores the son's position, the father in the Lotus Sutra employs a gradual approach, allowing the son to reach the point of realization at a pace suited to his own level of understanding. That gradual approach, referred to in Sanskrit texts as upaya, is the focus of the Lotus Sutra parable of the prodigal son. The Buddhist concept of upaya, often translated as skillful means, is a central teaching within Mahayana Buddhism that reflects the Buddha's nuanced approach to guiding his followers. Unlike a fixed or universal method of teaching, upaya emphasizes the flexibility and adaptability of spiritual instruction, Rooted in compassion, Upaya allows the Buddha to communicate his teachings in ways that resonate with the diverse needs and spiritual capacities of his audience. Rather than delivering a singular, absolute revelation, the Buddha tailors his messages, leading each disciple gradually toward deeper insight according to their unique state of mind and level of readiness. The concept of Upaya implies that truth in Buddhism is not always conveyed in a straightforward manner. Instead, it is often disclosed incrementally, in accordance with each follower's stage on the path of awakening to awakening. This incremental revelation is illustrated powerfully in the Lotus Sutra parable of the prodigal son, where the father's carefully staged guidance allows the son to advance at his own pace, slowly building confidence and self-worth until he's ready to comprehend the truth of his heritage. The father's compassionate patience serves as a metaphor for the Buddha's own teaching method, which withholds certain truths until followers are prepared to integrate them. Just as the father does not overwhelm his son with immediate knowledge of their relationship, the Buddha does not present his teachings in a manner that might be beyond his followers' capacity to understand. Instead, he employs Upaya to meet his followers where they are, gently leading them toward greater realization. This pedagogical strategy respects the individuality of each seeker's journey, allowing each person to progress at a pace suited to their particular strengths, limitations, and perspectives. The flexibility inherent in Upaya also suggests that the Buddha's teachings are in some sense provisional, intended to be surpassed or reinterpreted as the disciple advances on their path. While core Buddhist teachings, such as the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, remain foundational, the application and depth of these teachings vary according to the disciple's maturity. In this way, Upaya encapsulates the idea of a dynamic, ever-unfolding journey toward truth rather than a fixed endpoint of doctrinal adherence. The Buddha does not aim to impose knowledge. Rather, he aims to cultivate insight organically, respecting each disciple's readiness to perceive the truth. Through skillful means, the Buddha reveals his teachings in a manner that honors the process of spiritual maturation, recognizing that understanding comes as much from personal experience as it does from doctrinal instruction. Now, this understanding of Upaya as gradual, compassionate guidance offers a valuable framework for comparison with Christian conceptions of the Holy Spirit. In Christianity, particularly within the Gospel of John, the Holy Spirit is described as leading believers in all the truth, John 16, verse 13, in a manner that parallels the Buddha's use of skillful means. Just as Upaya allows for a personalized, progressive revelation tailored to individual readiness, so the Holy Spirit is portrayed as a guide whose revelations are adapted to the believer's spiritual maturity. In this passage, Jesus notes that there is much he could reveal, but that his disciples are not able to bear them now. I still have many things to say to you, he says, but you are not able to bear them now. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you in all the truth. For he will not speak from himself, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will proclaim to you the things to come. This passage highlights a central characteristic of the Holy Spirit's activity, an adaptive, step-by-step revelation of truth that honors the disciple's current capacity for understanding. Just as the Buddha used skillful means to teach according to each disciple's readiness, so the Holy Spirit gradually unveils deeper truth, respecting the spiritual maturity of believers as they progress along their journey of faith. Both Christian and Buddhist concepts emphasize that revelation is not a single definitive act, but a responsive, evolving process that accompanies the seeker along their spiritual path. The Holy Spirit's guidance serves not only to reveal divine truths but also to shape the believer's character, instilling a recognition that complete understanding is ultimately a divine mystery, gradually disclosed, but never fully possessed. This focus on gradual revelation thus challenges believers to embrace a posture of humility and openness, recognizing that divine truth cannot be fully grasped in an instant. In the Lotus Sutra, upaya serves as an antidote to theological and spiritual hubris. When the disciples of the Buddha experienced the humbling effects of upaya, they exclaim, "We are astonished, O Blessed One, we are astonished, O well-gone One. Without seeking, without searching, without thinking, without requesting, we have obtained this great jewel of such a form, O Blessed One." In this passage, the disciples explicitly acknowledge that they did not seek or expect this profound insight. Their surprise and gratitude reflect a sense of humility that arises from experiencing the Buddhist upaya, which brought them to understanding without any effort on their part to seek it out. This unanticipated gift of wisdom is received with humility rather than pride, as it was not something they strove for or achieved through personal ambition. Instead, it was gently revealed to them when they were prepared to receive it, much like to the son in the parable. By comparing the Holy Spirit's role to upaya, we gain a richer understanding of how both traditions view spiritual growth as a gradual nurturing process that respects individual readiness and maturity. Of even greater significance, however, is how a comparative study crystallizes and brings into focus the hitherto underemphasized aspects of Christian, perhaps Adventist theology. In our case, the concept of progressive revelation. Downplaying gradual revelation may overlook the role of humility and patience in the Christian theology of life, virtues fostered by recognition that spiritual understanding does not arrive all at once. The concept of gradual revelation encourages believers to approach their faith journey with an awareness that divine knowledge unfolds incrementally, requiring time, reflection, and abundant openness to growth, both at an individual and institutional levels. In this sense, the Spirit's guidance operates not as a sudden illumination of all truth, but as a progressive unveiling that invites believers into a relationship of trust and ongoing. This perspective reminds Adventists that spiritual insight and wisdom are not fully accessible at any single point in time or at any single individual in time, but are revealed in alignment with God's wisdom and in response to each person's individual journey. Now, for the sake of time, we can skip the next paragraph and get to the middle of page 5. What then, which is the third paragraph, what then can we say about the method we use to compare the compassionate workings of the Holy Spirit and the concept of applying Mahayana Buddhism, preserving the doctrinal distinctiveness of each tradition while emphasizing the experiential process? We shift our attention from specific teachings or theological tenets to the transformative journey that each believer or practitioner undergoes. This phenomenological approach allows for a meaningful exploration of how both traditions guide individuals through an evolving relationship with truth, respecting each person's unique pace and readiness for understanding. In Adventist theology, the work of the Holy Spirit is often discussed within the framework of doctrinal beliefs. Yet, when we focus on the Spirit's role as a progressive guide, we uncover a broader, more dynamic picture of how faith develops experientially. The Spirit is not merely reinforcing doctrinal points, but engaging believers in a journey that encompasses emotional, intellectual, and spiritual growth. This experiential journey allows the practitioner to internalize the teachings through lived experience rather than through mere intellectual understanding. Spiritual maturity cannot be reduced to a mere checklist of doctrinal affirmations. Rather, it involves an ongoing engagement with the divine, characterized by openness, adaptation, and continual growth. Although Christianity and Buddhism differ doctrinally in their interpretations of ultimate truth, both the Holy Spirit and Upaya prioritize the well-being and spiritual development of the individual, guiding each person according to their unique circumstances and readiness. By focusing on the experiential processes of spiritual growth rather than on doctrinal distinctiveness, comparative phenomenology offers Adventist scholars a powerful lens through which to deepen their understanding of the Holy Spirit's role. This method allows for a respectful engagement with other traditions, highlighting commonalities in human spiritual experience and encouraging Adventists to reflect on their own beliefs in a way that fosters both humility and growth. Furthermore, adopting comparative phenomenology as a method affirms the Adventist commitment to truth-seeking as a humble and open-ended endeavor. Comparative phenomenology encourages believers to recognize that their current understanding is always part of a larger process, inviting continual learning rather than ultimate finality. This stance aligns with the Adventist theological emphasis on progressive truth and ongoing revelation. By engaging with the experiential insights of other traditions, Adventists can enrich their appreciation of the Holy Spirit's role in guiding believers towards spiritual maturity, recognizing that this guidance may be part of a broader universal process of gradual transformation. So in affirming comparative phenomenology as an Adventist methodology, we stress that such an approach does not seek to homogenize or equate different belief systems. Rather, it honors each tradition's distinctiveness while emphasizing shared aspects of human spirituality. While doctrinal content may vary, the journey of spiritual growth and maturation often unfolds in similar ways across different faiths, ultimately by embracing comparative phenomenology as an effective method, skillful means, if you will. Adventist scholars can cultivate, both in themselves and in others, a mature spirituality, one that is both rooted in Adventist identity and responsive to the Spirit's wider activity